Edison.
You were never Annie for
That's what I was yesterday.
I want to see a photo.
A cute little schoolgirl, pigtail.
Not in a sexual context.
I think I was Rambo when I was 12.
Yesterday, I was asleep for Halloween. I know that's really boring, but I was. But my most memorable kind of goes with what everybody thought I was this year. I was Kermit the Frog one year, so it kind of goes with the Miss Piggy theme.
I am a lot like my character in the sense that I am just starting. I was raised Jehovah's Witness, so I'm just starting to celebrate shit. So this is fucking awesome. So this year I was Christopher Robin from Winnie the Pooh.
There's a picture on Twitter of him. He looks adorable.
I love short shorts.
He was pretty much just dressed like himself, but he carried a big Pooh Bear around all night, so it really sold it. I was a California raisin this year with a few of my girlfriends.
But she looked like a drunk girl in a bow tie.
There were leotards involved and heels, so it was totally legit, and we sang, I heard it through the grapevine, so it counts.
I came full circle because my favorite one was when I was in 6th grade. I was a Ghostbuster when that was popular. I made a little cardboard box proton pack. And this year I was in the edit bay and I was just a fat 37-year-old guy in a Ghostbusters t-shirt. I remember looking down at the t-shirt guy. I think people are celebrating Halloween right now.
I have to borrow someone's mic to tell you guys I was a stick of poo in 8th grade.
I wasn't anything this year, but in college I went as a paper bag once.
Awesome.
Okay, so this next question, I guess, so Dan, obviously the show has changed a lot since you first started out. And it seems
you just started liking it.
But it seems that from, the first episode of season 1 and, going all the way through the last episode, it seems like things have been getting progressively more ridiculous and almost as if like you're trying to see how far you can go or how much you can get away with. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm notoriously long-winded, so I'll try to keep it short. We are definitely trying to see, or maybe I'm trying to see how far I can go, and other people, thankfully, their job is to hold me back a little bit. It has to do with my boredom threshold, but also like my control freakism. Like I don't want to be pinned down. I don't want the show to have a formula that then people get sick of. And so there's like 4 or 5 different types of episode that I could name. But I'm not going to see the long-winded note. But that they're all really good. They're all interesting. Tonight was another new weird one, but you could put that under the subcategory of umbrella episode where they're all in the same place at the same time. But so I just want to do a bunch of stuff. But by the way, I will say, because I see some on Twitter, like if it's a little too ridiculous too soon for you for the first couple episodes, as you can see from that one, like we start to throttle down because I spent all our money, and we do some really amazing episodes. There's a big glut of like really grounded episodes that then the other half of the audience will go, oh, well, kind of dark and weird. That ending was weird, but you're gonna learn a lot about the characters, and so. Once the season's over, it's like The Wire. Just enjoy it season by season. You're not allowed to not like an episode. It's a whole season. No, it's by the time you'll get everything you're craving. Believe me.
Okay, and kind of as a follow-up to that, you mentioned before that a lot of the show was inspired by your own experiences in college and community college. So I guess starting with you, but also if we could go down the line, how much of the show is kind of based on your experiences? Was your college experience better or worse, more ridiculous, less?
I went to community college and I had a weird experience of feeling like a dick and having these knuckleheads that wanted to study with me kind of make me feel like I had been a dick my whole life because I didn't want to study with them. They kind of made me, and I was in this little room with them at Glendale Community College, and halfway through it I started really liking them and caring if they passed and stuff, and realizing, oh my God, I've been focused on screenwriting for so long, trying to prove I'm a good person through success, that I have only been living half a life. And that's really the only experience that informed the pitch for the show, but I'll let everybody else talk about real experiences informing stuff. Like, I think that Joe, you were a table once, right? When you I don't know.
Very briefly during sophomore year.
He was a table.
This is based on Dan Harmon. This comes out of Dan Harmon's brain, and it came out of Dan telling a story about his life and the experiences he's had, and all of these characters come out of his brain and people that he's known or things he's created.
Well, I mean, but when you get
they've
really,
evolved.
then you talk about Allison, for instance, who in last season, one of the writers was talking to her about this crazy story about her losing. Was it the story of you losing your virginity, or was it?
No, for the record.
All right, go ahead.
It was not the story of me losing my virginity. It was the story of me helping my friend lose his virginity.
Well, we warped it a little bit. She's like the peace card. She's just always there.
I'll help you out.
If there's something I'm good at, it's helping people.
But to use that as an example, then your character, we found out in the first season, well, she's practically a virgin because and there's a story that came purely out of Allison's life. We do the same thing. Like Donald had just mentioned, he's a Jehovah's Witness. His character's a Jehovah's Witness. So as far as what's going on with these characters, it's very, very much informed by their little details, partly because I'm just lazy. You might as well let them, if they're, oh, you're allergic to cheese, sounds good to me.
But it's a really cool thing for us, too, I think, because the writers are, and Dan are coming to us and going like, oh, Dan said you had some weird sex story. What? and then the lines you're saying are like, we were in the closet listening to Madonna's erotica, and I'm like, that really happened. You have to act this. We totally act all the time. But it's cool. It's cool to feel like that part is informing your character, and it's a give and take and all that, and I don't know, to feel like you're part of it in a greater sense like that.
Yeah, it makes the show more complicated and interesting as far as like I really like it because there's all the characters feel really real. Like even like, none of it feels like sitcom-y really. Like there's things that can't happen in real life, but none of the characters feel like I mean like I don't think I've ever seen somebody Jehovah's Witness on television. Not to say that like I've been like waiting for it and I really want it, because they're not that interesting. But like they're fucked up. But they're like interesting. Sorry if any of you guys are. I feel like someone's filming this. Just gonna send it to my mom.
Did your mom watch the show?
My mom does watch the show and she really loves it. But she is totally every time she's just like, that's not you didn't do that. That's not right. Like if you were a real Jehovah's Witness, you wouldn't do that. And I'm like, that's why I'm not. But yeah, I really like the fact that they're real people and they have real things, and even though like Britta and Jeff have made out, and there's still a show going on. Like that wasn't the end of the show. Like people make out and it's okay. Like I like stuff like that.
Now, going off of that, so not the kissing, but I guess one of the greatest strengths of the show is how you guys are able to kind of find a balance between, all of these absurd situations, but yet at the end of the day, you guys still have a heart and you still have, the pathos and all of that. So, how do you find a balance between all of that? Are there any like ridiculous ideas that you have turned down, like? That you basically said like that's too far? Or?
I don't think so far we're still in a mode where if anybody comes up with something where if the first response is that's too ridiculous, then the control freak in me always wants to figure out how that might not be ridiculous, and that's sort of how some of our best episodes germinated. If somebody will say like, oh, this taboo topic, how would you go near that? That would be a show killer. And then you go like, well, maybe if you did it this way or that way, you try to figure it out, or that would be nothing like a sitcom, like the paintball episode. Like how do you do that? We'll still have yeah, still cashing in on it, still living in its shadow.
If the audience believes the characters are like real people, then that buys you a lot. And with paintball, it was about at the heart of it, it was Jeff and Britta hooking up, and with the Halloween episode, it was about friendship between Troy and Abed. So if we make sure that there are grounded moments, thank you. If there are grounded moments within each episode, we can get pretty out there, and it allows us to do that.
The other thing is, hi everybody, how y'all doing? The one thing I love about the show is no matter how crazy it gets, it's always grounded in some sort of reality. I remember when we were doing a lot of press for the zombie episode, people were like, so is it a dream? You know, is it supernatural, whatever? And it's like, no, there's an actual reason how it happened on our campus. Like everything that's crazy, there's an actual reason that it, you know, a way that it can happen. So I love that they kind of ground everything in some type of reality. No matter if we're going to space, you know, it's always, right? You know, it's always has something to do with some type of reality, so I think that's awesome.